Good week, ladies and gentlemen. Today I'm being joined by one of the members of Friends for the Thread, the Vice President, Rick Brock. Rick, welcome to the show.
Good morning, Alton. How are you?
I am doing wonderful this morning. Rick, I noticed that you're very comfortable and relaxed this morning, so I am going to assume that you have perhaps just come off of a bicycle ride.
Well, you know me, I'm pretty much always around a bicycle somewhere, but I actually postponed my ride this morning, and I'll catch it up this afternoon and meet my wife for a ride home this afternoon.
Okay, all right, very good. Your wife, and then Rick, I noticed that you're also a business owner here in our community
Yes, I
that
am.
service bikes and sells bikes too.
Yes, I do.
So an avid rider, and you're gonna be doing it with your wife and kids as well.
My children are grown, but they all own bikes.
All
yes.
own bike. And you know, I was walking down the sidewalk the other day, and I noticed there was like this. Almost, was it a motorized bicycle that I saw for two?
Oh, the blue one in the window?
Yes.
That is actually owned by a customer who the son has a degenerative disease of some sort where he can't move. I'm not exactly sure what it is, like an MS situation where that bike is set up so he can be mounted in the front, and the dad gets in the back and actually can pedal the bike, and they can ride along. So it's in for a little bit of work we're doing on it, but yeah, it's very interesting situation.
Very interesting. Well, again, Rick, I know that you do a lot in our community, and you remember Friends of the Thread, and last week we had the ribbon cutting for a second. Talk about that a little bit if you don't mind.
You know, I've been fortunate enough to been involved in the thread since pretty much day one, and it is exciting to watch how it is transforming the areas wherever it goes. I make a regular habit of riding through it, of course, but just to be in the planning stages and watching people get involved and people coming out of literally the woods to say, hey, let's see if we can do this. Property owners stepping up, people donating to make it grow, and you know, yesterday or last week at the ribbon cutting, they were talking about the health survey that LaGrange College is working on a health survey, and I personally am seeing people out on the thread on a regular basis that I think normally would be a pretty sedentary lifestyle, but the fact that it's close to their house, they can get out and do some walking or some running or some riding, and they're getting out and moving.
Very good, very good. And and that's what it's all about. I think a lot of times when we sit around, we get stiff, and we kind of keep these joints moving and lubricate a little bit. Hopefully, we get a little bit more longevity out of it.
You know what? I don't know what day it's going to be when the Lord takes me home, but I want to be in good health up until that day. So yeah, I like to keep moving around.
Absolutely. Well, Rick, you're here today to talk about something that everybody can get involved with, and it's called Tour de Troup.
Tour de Troup.
Talk a little bit about that.
So, obviously, I'm a cyclist. I like to ride bike, and a lot of people hang around me like to ride bike. So what we want to do is we put together an event to benefit the thread. So it's going to be a yearly. This is the inaugural. And a cycling event usually has multiple routes for multiple levels of ability. This one here is actually going to be 35, 65, and 100, which is pretty common in the cycling world. Those who are riding have heard those numbers before. We've also added a family tour component to it, which is going to be a 5-mile route starting in front of LaGrange High School in that parking lot there across the street. That's where all of it starts, and everything will end in the same spot. The money that is raised will actually go to benefit the thread. Fortunately, or graciously, Center State Bank has donated enough as a sponsor. They've actually paid for the event. So if you come out and ride with us, Alton, that money will actually go right to the thread. There's none of that's going to go to the expense of actually operating the event. So that's a great thing too.
Absolutely.
And another cool component of this when I was putting it together, and the reason I called it Tour de Troup, was because like the thread itself, the whole idea behind the thread is how it threads our communities together across town and county. The tour does the same thing. The tour itself, the routes for the tour, actually take us and thread us through the entire community. It only leaves Troup County in one place, and that's so we can get on the opposite side of the dam, so we can come across the dam with the 100-mile route. But it goes to Hogansville, it goes to West Point, it actually goes through the Rosemont area, it goes through the winery area where the winery's at out there. A lot of people don't even know it's there, out near Kia. It goes to all these different places that literally thread our county together. So
very good, very good. So 100-mile, a 65-mile, and then you got a 35 and a 5-mile route.
And a 5-mile route.
I'd have to do that 5-mile route.
5-mile route.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, everybody got to start somewhere.
Absolutely.
I tell people, people come into my bike shop all the time, and I often tell the story of the 50-year-old man that comes into my shop, and the doctor tells him his blood pressure's too high, and he's on cholesterol medicine, and needs to get out and get some exercise. And the short story is I tell people, set a goal, if you're sitting here watching this right here today, you got 4 weeks to that event. You could get a bike today. If you're in any kind of decent physical condition now, you could go ride 35 miles on that bike. I could help you do that. You can come to our shop. I'll give you some ideas. Set a goal. Pay the money. Go ride the event.
Absolutely.
If you're just thinking, can't do that, get involved, join the event, set your 5-mile goal. Set a 5-mile goal on a bike. I assure you that is not as hard as most people think it is. Sounds like a long way, but
it's an enjoyment too, because talk about the date that it's going to be held too, and the weather expectations.
Well, it's May 11th, right?
May 11th.
I'm working it up. I'm sure it's going to be a nice warm day. All right, it's not summer yet; it's officially late spring, but it's going to be a nice warm sunny day. We're starting at multiple times because of the distances we're riding. Another piece I wanted to add in was that, it's a great cycling itself with your family. You heard me talk about riding with my wife,
right?
And I got a cart. I hook it on the back of my bike. I take my grandkids on it. My wife and I, and both my daughters, and my son when he's in town, he'll go riding with us. It is a great family activity. It's something that moves along fast enough that the scenery doesn't get boring, and slow enough you can have a conversation with somebody while you're doing it, while you're actually getting out and seeing things. We got some beautiful countryside here in the county. And if you ride around on a bike, you see things you never see in a car. I do it to this day. I mean, I've been living here since 2005, and I think I know the county pretty good in this area. And I'll ride along, and it just happened to me yesterday. I was riding out on a ride yesterday evening, and I turned this corner, and I looked out, and it was the field was just right. The sun was just right, and it was a nice glisten, a few cows out there eating it. And I thought, wow, that is just beautiful.
Absolutely. Picturesque,
Yeah, take a picture with a postcard photo.
There you go.
Them, right?
Absolutely. And, you're talking about it being a family, like the 5-mile ride, being family oriented, even if they want to bump it up. And I know that like some of the staff in my department, they get out and they ride. They have a riding group, riding club, whatever. And they talk about how, they go out and they do the 5-mile. Next thing you know, they've stretched it out and they don't realize they've ridden 15, 20 miles because there's such an enjoyment and such a relaxation.
Yeah. I took this, there was this person in town who bought a bike for me one day, and she was actually upgrading. She bought a nicer bike. She had an old one. She was training a thing. And she lived near me. So I said, I'll come ride with you this evening. So I went over and met her at her house, and I said, well, let's go for a ride. So we started riding, we started talking. So along the way, I'm asking her, what's the furthest you've ever ridden? I already got a plan, right? And so she finally determines that the furthest she'd ever ridden on a bike was 10 miles. That was the furthest she'd ever ridden. And as we pull into her driveway, I said, well, congratulations, you just did 15. And she's like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize I went that far.
That's right.
And, it was just because we were just having a conversation as we rode.
Absolutely. And you factor in the great weather, and it just makes it much more enjoyable.
And the route is half the time is downhill.
Okay.
Half the ride is downhill.
The ride is
so
downhill.
Even you can do it, yes.
Now, Rick, you were telling me, you're right, even I could do it, I got that. Rick, now, even though you told us that Central State has already sponsored the event, if somebody wanted to sign up, what's the cost, registration cost?
It's a $50 per rider. That includes a T-shirt, any goodie bags that happen on that day, and registration. You can go to bikereg.com, that's BIKEREG.com, and type in Tour de Troup, and it should come right up, and you can register there. For the family tour, it's $50 for the family.
Okay.
So,
a family of 4?
Well, we said 4, but, that's a family. It's $50 for the family. You come out with your family to ride, it's $50.
Okay.
That's the idea. And the idea is to have a fun day and enjoy the weather and meet some new people.
Absolutely. And I know you also have along the route you have some assistants there, Kona Ice and Pedal Forward. Talk about those.
So the idea was to involve people in the community. So and when you're on a cycling event, you have rest stops. So you go 15, 18 miles. You have, or some places 12 miles. You go and you have a rest stop, and it's really for water and maybe grab a quick snack. Nothing super fancy, but also we've gotten. Like Kona Ice, they're going to be along the bike route, and they'll be there to give you a little refreshing shot of ice and get you going. And then when they're done, they'll come back to the start-finish line and be there for you when they're done. Also, Pedal Forward, which is a nonprofit organization in Hogansville that works with kids and bikes. they've actually sponsored a rest stop in Hogansville. So you actually, when you get into Hogansville, there'll be a spot there where they're going to have snacks and goodies, and I'm not exactly sure what they're going to have. And they're still open. There's still more. If there's a restaurant or a vendor or taco wagon or something out there that wants to sponsor a rest stop, you can contact me at the bike shop. You can go to my Facebook page. You can send me an email. You can go to bikereg.com and say, talk to sponsor or talk to event coordinator, and there's all the ways you get in touch with me.
Okay.
Send up a smoke signal if you want to. I will find out and get involved. And you're just basically helping the riders get what they need nourishment wise, and then you can go back to the start finish line and set up and be a vendor. Absolutely.
And you said, Rick, all the proceeds go to benefit the thread. Talk about some of the things, because I know that we've gotten the Granger piece done. Mm-hmm. We got the Calumet Eastside Park.
Yeah, oh, that's a great piece.
Everybody talk about that. It's so scenic because it takes you off of kind of the beaten path a little bit. Talk about that if you don't mind. We get ready to close out.
So now we ride from the bike shop every Saturday morning. Right, there's a group of riders set up for all levels of riders. You want to come out and test your wares? This is a great place to do it. Anyway. So, and we'll a lot of times go out of town through one of the pieces of thread now because we have enough done. Mm-hmm. The East Side Park, the one we're talking about, that is personally my favorite. We go right down East Depot because you pick it up right behind Twin Cedars. There's a beautiful creek and a beautiful bridge back there that nobody even knows about.
Absolutely.
And it loops around behind the park. You don't even know you're like, where am I at? And you come out, and then it cuts through all that property that really kind of goes through the beautiful vegetation in an area that you don't even know is there, and then you come out in Calumet, the field, exactly. You come out for the ball fields, and then it cuts through that other piece of wood. The next thing you know, you're at the rec center. Yeah. But that is, I don't know, that's personally my favorite, but that's just between you, me, and the rest of the crowd.
And the rest of the crowd that just heard it, right? Absolutely. Well, Rick, we know that the public will come out because I have walked that piece that you were just talking about, and I absolutely love it. I've walked the Granger area. Looking forward to doing the country club area when it's done too.
Yeah, it's coming soon.
The college area that is now open, I'm looking forward to walking that as well. So
that's another, We were talking about going around by the ball field yesterday. Yes. I've sat there and watched them practice. It's actually pretty cool.
It is. Absolutely. Well, Rick, we know that the public will come out and support this because this is a great amenity that we have here in our community. Just want to say thank you for being, a part of all this happening and being the vice president of Friends of the Thread. So definitely, I'm looking forward to coming out and getting on the bike.
All right. Well, come on. Let's go ride.
All right. Absolutely. Rick, thanks for being on the show today.
You're welcome.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned for more City Week in just a moment.